It was all clear for the Tata DoCoMo settlement deal because the Delhi High Court today has accepted the consent terms, dismissing the RBI's objection for allowing that arbitration award of $1.2 billion. And joining in on the show live now is DoCoMo's lawyer, senior advocate, Mr. Kapil Sibal. Mr. Sibal, good evening to you and thank you so much for taking time out for us this evening here on ET Now. First, thoughts, sir, on what you've made of the Delhi High Court judgment that's upholding the consent terms between, of course, the Tatas and DoCoMo?
Well, the Delhi High Court order first says that it takes on record the consent terms, approves them, and as far as the intervention of the Reserve Bank of India is concerned, it holds that they have no locus to actually intervene in these proceedings. And the essence of the judgment is that when the two parties, through the consent terms, agree to abide by them, then and Tata accepts the liability to pay in terms of the award, then obviously that has to be carried through, subject to couple of conditions, namely that the Competition Commission clearance has to be taken, and if there is any taxes to be paid.
Mr. Sibal, through the course of the day, we've been discussing how this is a verdict that's going to have far-reaching consequences and is going to really impact many similar such deals. What do you think is the message that this verdict is given out to foreign investors from the Indian court's point of view?
Well, I think this is really, there is no message by the Delhi High Court. There is an arbitration. There was a dispute. The dispute was referred to arbitration. The arbitrators rendered an award in damages. First of all, Tata initially opposed it, and thereafter Tata agreed to pay under the terms. And that was in terms of their, traditional position that they always acknowledge their liabilities. And it's in that context that the consent terms were entered into and put forward in court. And the court took them on record.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Is this, if not a message, maybe some sort of a signal to the central bank, the RBI, that perhaps it sort of, needs to not really interfere in matters related to private businesses?
I don't want to make any such statements. The Reserve Bank of India was concerned about this transaction and put forward its points of view. But we raised an objection that they are not party to these proceedings at all, and they have no locus to intervene in these proceedings, which objection was upheld. But the essence of the transaction was that the DoComos had brought in $2.5 billion. And the shareholders' agreement said that at a given point in time, and there was a trigger date after a notice was to be given, the put option, in terms of the put option, Tatas had to buy back the shares. And buy back the shares either at the higher than the market, at the market value or the fair market value, or if the value was less than the market value, then 50% of the investment. In other words, in this transaction alone, DoCoMo has lost $1.25 billion. And that was the agreement. And the terms of the agreement further said that Tata have to arrange these monies, not necessarily from their Indian companies, from anywhere around the world. So that was the obligation of the Tatas, and that obligation was ultimately discharged, even though pursuant to disputes raised, there was an award given, and ultimately Tatas agreed to that obligation.
Right. So, Mr. Sibal, considering the fact that the Delhi High Court upheld the shareholder agreement, wouldn't you say it's a clear sign to the central bank that it cannot obstruct a contract between two private parties?
No. First of all, I don't want to say anything against the RBI. I mean, the RBI was, thought it fit to intervene in this process. But as I said, the law doesn't permit them to intervene, and the court has so ruled. So I don't want to really comment on the RBI on this issue.
All right, fair enough, sir. But with that, we'll thank you for taking time out for this quick interview here on ET Now. Thank you so much for joining in.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.